Poco F7 Ultra is the latest Android flagship phone which is quite affordable. I decided to compare the battery life and performance of this phone to other phones that's already got a bunch of updates, which are the OnePlus 13, Vivo X200 Pro, Xiaomi 15, Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. Almost all of these phones are in the same class in terms of size, except for the Xiaomi 15. I included the Xiaomi 15 since it has the best battery life among compact phones. I set all phones to the same brightness level using a lux meter. All phones were charged to 100% and they were all connected to Wi-Fi throughout the test. To measure performance for the first test, I decided to run Geekbench. This benchmark measures the single-core and multi-core performance of the phones. The OnePlus 13, Xiaomi 15, and Poco F7 Ultra are all running Snapdragon 8 Elite. The Vivo X200 Pro is running on Dimensity 9400, the S25 Ultra is running on the custom-made version of a Snapdragon 8 Elite, and the iPhone 16 Pro Max is running on Apple's A18 Pro. After the test was done, the highest single-core performance belonged to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. The second best single-core was the OnePlus 13, and the third best single-core was the S25 Ultra. For multi-core performance, the S25 Ultra scored over 10,000 and won first place. OnePlus 13 got second place, and third place went to the Xiaomi 15. Then I ran a 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme test on all phones to test their graphic units. This time, the OnePlus 13 got the highest score and took first place with a score of 6,700. The S25 Ultra scored 6,600, and third place went to the Poco F7 Ultra. After that, the battery test of the phones started. For the first test, I ran a YouTube live stream. YouTube and social media in general are among the lowest battery consuming activities you can do since the new OLED displays are very efficient these days. After around an hour, it is interesting that the iPhone is still at 100%. iPhones usually lose the first percentage later than Android phones. That's just how the battery is calibrated. I ran the YouTube live streaming test for around 3 hours, and by the end of it, the OnePlus 13 was at 89%, the Vivo at 90%, Poco at 87%, Xiaomi at 85%, Galaxy at 86%, and the iPhone was at 93%. For the next test, I set the phones to record in 4K and 30 frames per second. The reason that some phones are brighter is that they are elevated. After around 20 minutes of video recording, the iPhone is still leading the pack with 83%, followed by Vivo at 80%, and then OnePlus with 75%. Then I ran one of the heaviest battery tests, which is Google Meet. The reason this test is heavy is that the phones have to capture video, encode it, send it over, download incoming streams, and decode them. I also measured the temperature, and all phones had the same temperature with two exceptions. First, the Xiaomi 15 was 2 to 3 degrees hotter than the rest. The reason is that the Xiaomi 15 is smaller, and smaller phones tend to have higher temperatures due to the laws of thermodynamics. The other exception was the iPhone, which was 2 to 3 degrees cooler than the other phones, something typical for iPhones. What happened next was that the Xiaomi 15 disconnected from the call and stopped the streaming, most likely due to overheating. I had to manually reconnect it to upload the video to avoid giving it any advantage over the other phones. To be fair again, the reason it overheated was due to the smaller form factor, and this phone would be better compared to S25 and other base models. By the end of the test, the OnePlus was at 35 degrees Celsius, the Vivo was 1 degree hotter than that, Poco was 2 degrees hotter than the OnePlus, Xiaomi 15 was 4 degrees hotter than the OnePlus, Galaxy S25 Ultra was the same temperature as the OnePlus, and the iPhone was 3 degrees cooler. Right now, the iPhone is leading the pack with 75%, Vivo is at 72%, and OnePlus is at 67%. Other phones are at the lower 60% level. Then I ran the 3D Mark stress test. I know it's a bit controversial to run this test during a battery drain test, but I was curious if Xiaomi and Poco solved the issue of not completing the benchmark due to overheating. And yeah, the issue is still there. The Xiaomi 15 showed the overheating icon and stopped the test at loop 18 out of 20. This usually happens when the phone reaches 50 degrees Celsius or 122 Fahrenheit. The Poco almost finished the test, but right before the last loop, it also displayed the overheating icon and stopped the test, presumably because it also reached the 50 degrees Celsius mark. For the ones left in the game, the Galaxy got the best score, followed by OnePlus and then Vivo X200 Pro. Right now, OnePlus is at 49%, Vivo at 59%, Poco at 47%, Xiaomi at 45%, S25 Ultra at 50%, and iPhone at 64% battery left. Then I decided to just leave the phones on standby for 2 days to see how things go. I turned on the phones after 2 days and was a bit shocked that both Poco and Xiaomi lost a lot of ground. To be fair, this could just be a coincidence. For example, it could be that Xiaomi calibration is such a way that the battery drains faster once below 50%, not that they actually lose more juice during a standby. For the next test, I decided to play the aquarium, which is a simple web application that runs some fish in the aquarium. I set the number of fish to be the same across all phones. It is obvious by now that Xiaomi 15 is going to be the first phone to say goodbye. I expected a bit more from this phone since the battery capacity is quite high. I really wonder why it wasn't able to last as long as the other flagship phones. Xiaomi reached a 5% battery warning, so I decided to switch all phones to Google Meet so they could say goodbye one by one. Right now the OnePlus is at 26%, Vivo is at 33%, Poco is at 19%, Xiaomi is at 5%, Galaxy is at 20%, and iPhone is at 23%. In this test, the phone that surprised me the most was the Galaxy S25 Ultra. In the last few tests I've done, the Galaxy lost by a large margin to the iPhone and other phones, but this time it is holding quite well. It could be due to updates or the fact that for the first time I'm not testing on 5G and doing the test on Wi-Fi only. The reason I'm not doing a 5G test is simply because I don't have 6 SIM cards, I only have 4, and that's where the cap is right now. Maybe subscribe to the channel so I can get better sponsorship deals and afford to buy more phones and SIM cards. Also, maybe it is a bit late to say this, but the OnePlus and Vivo here are the Chinese versions, while Poco and Xiaomi are the global versions of the phones. The Xiaomi 15 is spending its last minutes, and finally, after 5 hours and 41 minutes of active screen on time, it left the chat. The other phones are hanging in there. It seems either Poco or Galaxy will be the next phone to leave the chat sooner rather than later. Poco has a slightly higher battery capacity than the Galaxy. It's interesting that Galaxy is holding up as well, maybe even beating it by a small margin. Finally, after 6 hours and 18 minutes of screen on time, Poco was the second phone to leave the chat. It is a bit of a shame that we don't get the same 6000 mAh battery on the Poco that we get on the Chinese version, the K80 Pro. Galaxy is also not feeling well, and usually Samsung phones just empty themselves on the last 5% pretty quickly. And 10 minutes after Poco, at 6 hours and 28 minutes, Galaxy also left the chat. I really hope next year Galaxy uses this new battery technology and increases the capacity. Right now, the OnePlus and iPhone are around 10%, while Vivo is ahead. The question is, which phone is going to get third place, OnePlus or iPhone, since Vivo has a comfortable lead, and it is not likely that it will lose the game. OnePlus showed the 2% battery warning, but the iPhone is already at only 1%. OnePlus went into super performance mode at 7 hours and 14 minutes. A few minutes later, the iPhone died at 7 hours and 18 minutes. I would say it is a tie, since you can still use your OnePlus 13 even in super performance mode. Technically, the phone isn't dead yet. The Vivo X200 Pro is running strong and comfortably winning the race. It is impressive how great the new Dimensity chipsets are, and I hope they gradually become serious competitor to a Snapdragon chipset to decrease prices for consumers. Finally, at 7 hours and 43 minutes, the Vivo X200 Pro was the first phone to leave the chat, which is impressive. Also, you can still use both OnePlus and Vivo for calls and some basic functions as opposed to the other phones. Overall, these days, all flagship phones have efficient chipsets, and you will most likely get at least a full day out of them, even with demanding heavy use. In this test, Vivo got the crown, iPhone took second place, and OnePlus got third. Galaxy also surprised us and punched above its weight. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the camera comparison of these flagship phones, watch this video next. Thanks for tuning into Techno, and I will see you in the next one.